You got promotion, you don't feel like relaxing?
Well, it's been a long, hard season, and we're up there, we're promoted, and we hope now we win the championship.
Tell us the truth, you were there for the expenses.
No, certainly not. The very opposite.
OK, we'll chat in detail on rallying, motorsport and, of course, Swindon and soccer later on. Be the first to get promotion this season?
I didn't have any bet. I wasn't very hopeful, to tell you the truth, especially after the start we got to the season, where we were third from bottom at one stage and drifted from 8-1 favourites to 150-1. So really, I'm kicking myself at the moment.
Yes. Well, if you look at the historical background, it is all the more astonishing, because is it Good Friday last year you were sacked by one Swindon town?
Well, you know that, because I think I was sitting here 5 days later, wasn't it? Yes, and well, I never thought it would happen, and I don't think anyone did. But I'm pleased for the people, and I'm pleased for the 12,000 or so that were there the other evening, who've waited, you know, a number of years, and the delight on their faces, a lot of them the other night, was something I'll never forget. It's
a great moment, whether it's first or fourth division, isn't it? Just looking back at that sort of horrid Easter last year, somebody said that many managers were actually, with that kind of treatment, would actually walk out never to be seen again at the club. But you, for some reason, decided that you were still committed to that club despite the fact they sacked you.
Well, I think the circumstances were different to a normal manager losing his job, which is purely on results, and my particular case was far from that. And I wanted to get back into the job, and I wanted to get to the top. I dreamt of getting to the top with Swindon, and fortunately it's happened. But all along the way, it's really a dream, isn't it? And it never really comes true.
What style of manager would you describe yourself as? Are you the tracksuit, or are you the man in the office with the phone plugged to his left ear?
I think sometimes we get a false impression of a football manager. I think he's a manager like you've got here. He's in charge of a group of people, and your job is to get the best out of them. And common sense most of the time does that.
How much of a help is it that quite clearly all the players knew your own football background? Do you actually think it's an aid in football to be an ex-footballer, or there is a theory, isn't there, that the good administrators make the good managers?
Well, there's a lot of theories in football, and like Graham Souness now moving in at Rangers, there's a lot of people doubting his ability to do the job, and that's only because of one reason, which is age. Well, as you know, in football, there's that many people have had jobs, and they've had numerous jobs, and they keep getting them, because people tend to think that if you've been a football manager, you're capable of doing the job, and if you're young and inexperienced, you're not capable of doing it.
So many times we hear, don't we, that the players in training can actually literally perform Brazilian skills. When they get out on the pitch, it's all back to the slightly fearsome, tightly controlled football. Do you believe that the younger players, it is the young who can teach them how to control that fear?
Well, I'm a little bit disappointed in the young players nowadays. I don't know if there's any difference, you know, in motor racing when John's involved, but the up-and-coming young player is not as plentiful as he was in the past. And it's rather a concern, I think, for the future. And I think unless their attitude changes, we could be seeing football, sadly, going down the way.
And yet you wouldn't wish football to get more callous and merciless, would you, and just axe all the oldies?
Oh, no, because I'm one of them. No, football's a young man's game, but unless the young man accepts that there's a lot of hard work to be put in, and there's going to be no future for them.
Does working in the fourth division, has it opened your eyes in a sense? Because let's face it, a lot of first division chairmen right now want to almost elbow fourth and third division clubs.
Well, there's got to be a future for any football team, and I wouldn't like to think that Swindon, who everyone in Swindon is hoping is going to be a first division club one day, because all football fans hope that, especially if they're in the lower division. And why should that right be taken away from them? There's a lot of first division clubs possibly shouldn't be in the first division.
So when you now look at the position adopted by first division chairmen and some first division managers, do you believe that they're a little bit arrogant?
Well, I mean, they've got the money, they've got the crowds rolling through the turnstiles, and they sit back and they say, well, get rid of the people who only draw 2,000 or 3,000. But the people we've had this year at Swindon have had a lot of pleasure, well, I'd like to think they have, and they want to see Swindon town. We play this afternoon, and they're not thinking about Manchester United or Chelsea or anybody else, they're thinking about Swindon town.
And the answer is to take Swindon right to the top and wallop the top boys, isn't it?
Well, we're quite happy with what we've done this year.
You mentioned Graham Souness early on, and just wanted to cast our minds back on what, in a sense, is the most interesting story of the week, Graham Souness joining Rangers. I think we've got a little clip of actually Graham prancing around his new home at Ibrox Park. Did the news of his arrival there surprise you?
I think it surprised everyone. I think he was tipped to come back to England and to go to Glasgow and Glasgow Rangers, which is a big club, and possibly one of the biggest in the country, including the teams in England. Took everyone by surprise, and as I say again, the fact that he's a young manager, player-manager at 34, everyone's doubting his ability, but on the field he had a style of play, and if he adopts that style of play into Rangers, unfortunately for me, being a Celtic supporter, they might be successful.
Yes. Well, we saw Graham posing for the cameras there, which leads me to think that Scottish football actually is more and more coming into focus. The crowds are going up. They're the ones in Europe, let's face it, not the English clubs. Do you think we down south have ignored them at our own expense, at our own cost?
Well, you shouldn't really ignore Scottish clubs, because I've just said Rangers and Celtic are as big, if not bigger, than the clubs you have in England. And the support they carry is second to none. You can get 20,000 people leaving Glasgow to go and follow either team in Europe, which is a lot of people to take, and they take those people through good times and bad times, which is a sign of a good supported club.
Of course, south of the border is another big club playing tomorrow. In fact, it's ITV's live big match, Man United, Sheffield Wednesday. Briefly, Lou, is that United's last chance for the title, do you think?
I think there's, unfortunately, there's too many teams in front of them, and you can't get 3 or 4 teams slipping up. You can always get one, but I think they're blowing it now.
Let it never be said that you're a betting man, Lou Macari, but who would you tip in one word for the title? I
would stick with Everton, I think.
Everton?
Yeah.
Right, well, you're a shrewd investor, so I think I might just have to go along with you. My thanks to both of you for coming in, John Watson and Lou Macari. Thanks very much for joining us on Saturday Sport.